much attention has been placed on the finance and the infocomm sectors, which alone accounted for 40% of the increase in EP holders. Now, this is significant. But what is even more significant is that these two sectors saw even stronger job creation for local PMEs. In infocomm, the number of EPs increased by around 25,000. The number of jobs created in this sector alone for local PMEs was greater at 35,000. In finance, the number of EPs increased by around 20,000, but the number of jobs created for local PMEs was even greater at around 85,000. This is more than 4 times. Now, we focus on these two sectors because they bring good quality jobs. And Singapore, our beloved Singapore, can carve out an advantage and value add significantly in these areas. And as a result, there has been significant job creation. Now, as we attract foreign banks, infocomm companies to create jobs here, they will inevitably need foreign workers to complement the Singaporean workforce. I want to deal with a fundamental misconception, which lies at the heart of some of the things being misconstrued. When a company decides to come into Singapore to invest, and they need about 3,000 people, they may be able to find about 2,500 of these talents in Singapore, but they still need to supplement that 2,500 with the other additional 500 from overseas. Now, if we object and we insisted that the balance of that 500 must all come from Singapore, irrespective, then how do we expect that investment to take off? How do you expect that investment to come in? These 2,500 jobs for the locals would be compromised greatly. So the simple point is that while we have a good Singaporean talent pool, our pool is not large enough to fulfill all of the needs, the breadth and the depth of these enterprises. And very often, foreigners also bring in skills which complement Singaporeans' skill sets as well. So the misconception is that if we said no to the foreigners coming in, and the misconception people think is that these jobs they would have taken would therefore all go to Singaporeans. How can this be possible? I mean, this is a misconception. How do I know that this is a misconception? Because today, even as we speak, we still have 22,000 PME jobs that are not filled. Companies are desperate to fill these jobs. They would love to take in Singaporeans if they could, because Singaporeans are more productive. But these jobs up to now are still not filled. Perhaps Mr. Leong would like to think deeply about that and deliberate and offer us some advice. Now, Mr. Leong also suggests that doing away with foreigners will reduce the displacement of our older PMEs. I wish that was so. But private sector and the real economy do not operate this way. There will always be displacement of PMEs, whether older or younger, in any economy. Why? Because the business world is never static. Industries change, companies downsize, they expand, they relocate, they pivot, they transform. Now, even if, regardless of whether you have foreigners or not, that would not change because this is the function of the business world. What matters most for us is whether we are able to find jobs for these displaced PMEs. And to do this, we need an ecosystem where there is also new companies willing to come and start up in Singapore, new investments, new foreign direct investments coming in, and expanding multinational corporations. So far, I think we have done credibly in this regard. New jobs created have far exceeded the jobs that have been lost, and our employment rate has been kept low. And the re-entry rates for displaced PMEs are high. That said, it is not always easy or possible to find every single displaced PME an equivalent job in the same industry, especially if there's a skills mismatch. An IT sales manager who loses his job may not find a job as a cybersecurity expert, but we do our best to help them find jobs in other growth sectors. If we tell companies which want to invest in Singapore that they can only employ Singaporeans, or first, employ Singaporeans who have been displaced regardless of skills, I think the answer will be quite stark. They, I think, would opt not to come into Singapore to invest. All companies will want to hire Singaporeans, but companies will also need to have that flexibility to hire the best available talent from around the world to complement our Singaporean workforce. Now, I understand what displaced Singaporeans are going through. Rest assured, we are doing our best to help you and your families. But it is important that we go into the root cause of the problem, we are able to tackle it, and we are able to diagnose the situation accurately and not provide treatment to just treat and relieve the symptoms. Because only when we can identify the right solution, we are able to prescribe, we are able to provide the precise and the appropriate treatment. The fundamental question now is, how do we strike a balance between ensuring that businesses have access to skill sets, to manpower, to grow and succeed, whilst creating opportunities for our local workers to grow and to progress?